Next, I'm going to explain the second verse to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Under the Bridge. Before I begin, I'd like to tell you that I am in standard tuning, and I'm going to refer to the strings by their letter names. The top string is my low E string. The second from the top is the A string. The third is the D. The fourth is the G. The fifth from the top string is my B string, and my bottom string is my high E string. I've broken this verse down into 4 parts. In my explanation of verse 1, I went over how to play each of the chords. We're going to find that from verse 1 to verse 2, we're going to be playing the same chords. Just in verse 2, we're going to be adding notes to those chords. So, if you're having trouble following me whenever I speak of the chords, it might help you to watch my explanation of verse 1. So part 1 in verse 2 is going to begin with our E5 power chord. You're going to play it in a downward motion, pause for a second, and then play it in an upward motion. It will sound like this. Then you're going to want to move that shape up and form a B major bar chord. I'm doing that by placing my pointer finger on the 7th fret of my low E string. My ring finger is on the 9th fret of my A string. My pinky is below it on the 9th fret of my D string, and my middle finger is sitting on the 8th fret of my G string. I'm playing those 4 strings, my top 4 strings. So far. Then you're going to want to take your pointer finger off of the top string and move it down to the 7th fret of your B string. You want to leave your other 3 fingers where they are. What we are going to do first is we're going to pick both our G and our B strings together, and our fingers are already in the right place, being that your middle finger is still on the 8th fret of your G string and your pointer finger is now on the 7th fret of your B string. I'm going to play those 2 strings. Then I'm going to play my D string 1 time, and my pinky is currently on the 9th fret of my D string. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my ring finger and my pinky out of the way, and I'm going to play my G string again. My middle finger is on the 8th fret. I'm going to pick that 1 time, and I'm going to use my ring finger to hammer onto the 9th fret of the G string and then immediately pull back off. It's going to sound like this slowly. Then I'm going to take my ring finger and place it on the 9th fret of my D string and play that note. So far, part 1 played slowly is going to sound like this. Then we are going to take our ring finger and place it up on the 9th fret of our A string and our pinky below it on the 9th fret of our D string. Pick those 2 notes and we're going to slide up a whole step so that we stop at the 11th fret with those 2 fingers. It's going to sound like this. Then we are going to form our C sharp minor chord. These 2 fingers are already in place. We need to take our pointer finger and place it on the 9th fret of our G string, and below it place your middle finger on the 9th fret of your B string. Now what we're going to do is you're continuing to press down with your ring finger and your pinky where you stopped on that slide. What we want to do is we want to pick our G and our B strings together first, then pick your A and your D strings together, then pick your G and your B strings together once again. So that slide in those series of notes is going to sound like this slowly. Then after that, we're going to move this shape down exactly as we have it, down to form the G sharp minor chord, which I went over in my explanation of verse 1. We move the chord shape down to where it is now, then we're going to pick those notes once. Then we're going to move up and play the middle of our A major bar chord. Then after that, you're going to take your pointer finger and place it on the 5th fret of your high E string. You're going to pick that note one time, and with your fretting hand, you're going to hammer onto the 7th fret, then pull off with that finger, then you're going to pull off with your pointer finger. So it's going to sound like this played slowly. Once again. Then after that, you're going to take your pointer finger and place it here on the 5th fret of your B string and your middle finger on the 6th fret of your G string and play just those 2 notes. And that is going to be the end of part 1. Part 1 played slowly will go like this. At real speed, part 1 will sound like this. Part 2 is the first 2 parts of part 2 is going to be exactly as part 1. We're going to play our E major chord, make our chord change to the B major, and we're going to pick through those same notes. It's going to sound like this. And then once again, we're going to play the 9th fret of our A and D strings, just as we did before. We're going to slide up to the 11th fret. Then once again, we're going to play the 9th fret of our G and B strings. And we're going to pick this the same way as we did in part 1. You're going to pick the G and the B first, then the A and the D, then the G and the B again. So part 2, the beginning of it's exactly the same as part 1. It goes like this. Then we're going to go down and play the middle of our A major chord, our A major bar chord. After that, place your pointer finger flat against the neck of the guitar so that it bars across your B and your high E strings at the 5th fret. Pick your bottom string first, then your B string, then take your middle finger and place it here on the 6th fret of your G string and play that note. And that is the end of part 2. Part 2 in its entirety will sound like this. And part 3 is going to be exactly the same as part 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play part 1 and part 2, and then I'm going to, of course, repeat part 1 to play part 3. I just made that sound a little confusing, but you know what I mean. I'm going to play parts 1 through 3, and like I said, part 1 and 3 are exactly the same. It's going to sound like this. In our 4th and final part, we will begin it once again by playing our E5 power chord, strum it down and then up, and then we're going to make our chords change to the B major chord. Now, we just played the B major chord one time. Now what we need to do is we're going to pick our G and B strings together. Then you're going to pick your A and your D strings together. Then pick your G and your B strings together one more time. So far in part 4 we have this, played slowly. Then our ring finger and our pinky are already in the position that it needs to be in. What we want to do is play those 2 notes and once again slide up to the 11th fret as we did before. Then what I do is take my pointer finger and I place it flat against the neck of the guitar across the G and the B strings here at the 9th fret. I'll play those 2 notes. So far in part 4 we have this. And then what we are going to do is come down and form the middle part of our A major bar chord once again and play that. But this time, what we want to do is we want to form it like this. Take your pointer finger and lay it flat against the neck of the guitar so that it covers up all the strings on the 5th fret. Then take your ring finger and place it on the 7th fret of your A string, and your pinky below it on the 7th fret of your D string, and your middle finger here on the 6th fret of your G string. So that here you're forming a true A major bar chord, and you're going to play it, and then you're going to play the bottom string, then you're going to play the B string, then you're going to play the G string. And remember, my pointer finger right now is pressing down here on the 5th fret at the B and the high E strings. Okay, so once again, I'm going to play part 4 in slow. And then to finish verse 2, we're going to take our ring finger and place it on the 9th fret of our B string, our pointer finger on the 8th fret of our G string, and my middle finger on the 9th fret of my D string. I'm going to play just those 3 notes. Then after that, take your pointer finger and place it here on the 7th fret of your A string. You're going to play that and play a vibrato along with it. And you're going to hold that for 3 or 4 seconds, and then you're going to slide down to nothing. So that part will sound like this. Part 4 all together. Parts 1 through 4 together, and this is going to make up the second verse.